Hi, this is Jeffrey Smith of the Institute for Responsible Technology. We're going to talk about President Trump, GMOs, and pesticides. Based on the first 100 days, it appears that President Trump and his team are going to be more of the same in terms of promoting Monsanto and the GMO agenda. In fact, it may be worse. Some of you don't know that the Obama administration was worse than the previous Bush administration. We don't know if this administration will be worse yet, but it's not looking good. Right now, as you know, President Trump and EPA Administrator Pruitt and the confirmed USDA Secretary Perdue, together they've received millions of dollars from big ag and chemical companies. And now it looks like they're paying them back. President Trump recently signed a new executive order specifically targeting agriculture and directed Secretary Perdue to undertake a 180-day review to identify and eliminate, quote, unnecessary regulations. Now, it doesn't specifically talk about GMOs in this executive order, but it uses the same terms that the biotech industry has used in previous administrations, like advance the adoption of innovations in technology for agricultural production, or require executive departments and agencies to rely upon the best available science when reviewing or approving crop protection tools. And finally, encourage the production, export, and use of domestically produced agricultural products. These are all code words for promote GMOs. Now, before I go on, I want to invite you to sign the petition, which is in the newsletter accompanying this download, asking the Trump administration to include reasonable voices from organic, etc., in the evaluation committee looking at agricultural policies and not just big ag. Let's review some of the president's men here and see how they line up with respect to GMOs. Jeff Sessions has accepted contributions from Monsanto multiple times, and he might be in a position to fast-track the proposed merger of Bayer Crop Science and Monsanto, creating the largest seed and largest pesticide company in the world. And President Trump, before he was inaugurated, he sat down with the CEOs of both companies and had a, quote, productive meeting on the future of the agricultural industry. So that looks like we're not going to see any pushback on the monopolistic merger that's going on there. Secretary of Agriculture Sonny Perdue is tightly entwined in the industry he'll regulate. He used to sell fertilizer, but not the organic varieties. He accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars from big ag business. He's a known proponent of GMOs and all things big ag. He runs a company that trades agricultural commodities. And he's in charge of interpreting the DARK Act. We'll get back there in a second. Scott Pruitt, head of the EPA, sued the EPA many times and is deeply in the pocket of big ag and does not like regulation. And the EPA looks at pesticides and pesticide-producing products. And it doesn't look good for the EPA as a regulator. The current budget proposal will fire 25% of their workforce, including 9 staffers focused on endocrine disruptors. It'll knock out 31% of their budget, but hire 10 new security detail for Pruitt. And then we have the FDA Scott Gottlieb, who actually not only is tied to over 25 entities from Financial Disclosure Letter, including biotech and pharmaceutical, but he actually co-authored a report in favor of genetically engineered animals, saying there were compelling benefits for healthcare, nutrition, the environment, and animal welfare. He's also a fellow at the American Enterprise Institute for Public Policy Research. It's an influential right-wing think tank that advocates for many things, including GMOs, very pro-GMO. So with Gottlieb at the helm of the FDA is mandated for decades to promote GMOs. It'll be more of the same from him. So now, with all of those people in position in the policy-making wing of our government, what can we do? Well, let's take a look, for example, at the DARK Act. When the DARK Act, denying Americans the right to know, was passed by Congress recently, it eliminated the ability of states to pass labeling requirements for GMOs. It knocked out Vermont's labeling requirement, and many people who were casually looking at the GMO world figured that was a huge blow for the GMO movement, knocking the movement off of its center. Well, it's not true. The anti-GMO movement does not require mandatory labels in order to win. And a case in point, bovine growth hormone. Monsanto introduced a genetically engineered drug for dairy cows that increased their milk supply and destroyed the health of the animals. It also promoted so much IGF-1 in the milk, which is a cancer-promoting hormone, that I'm told by one of Monsanto's former scientists, that 3 of his colleagues that did the safety studies on the milk from cows treated with bovine growth hormone, after seeing that, refused to drink milk thereafter unless it was organic. One bought his own cow. Now, we educated people, especially moms, about the health dangers of drinking milk and other dairy products from animals, from cows that were injected with bovine growth hormone. At no time was it required for that milk to have a label. In fact, the person who determined that it did not need a label if it used the bovine growth hormone was Michael Taylor, Monsanto's former attorney, later Monsanto's vice president, then back at the FDA under the Obama administration as the U.S. food safety czar. So there was no required labels. And yet the milk producers that did not use bovine growth hormone wrote on their labels no RBST, no RBGH, no artificial hormones, all meaning the same thing. And that sold at a premium because consumers were wanting that. And that forced Walmart, Starbucks, Yoplait, Dan, and most American dairies to kick GMOs out, to kick the bovine growth hormone out, even though there was no required labels. We're in a very similar situation where the non-GMO labels are taking over. And we have companies that are bragging, very expensive brags, like Nestle's advertising on television that its coffee creamer is non-GMO. And we have General Mills and Unilever, Kellogg's, Post, Campbell's, Hershey's, Del Monte, Hellmann's Mayonnaise, so many companies removing GMOs from at least one brand, often many, and more to come. So in the world of GMOs, the customer is king and queen. And this is what we are doing at Institute for Responsible Technology, working with a more fundamental, let's say, laws of nature around GMO acceptance and approval. Not policy, but consumer demand based on education, accurate education about the health dangers. And so because we eat GMOs, it's very easy to have that influence by educating the eater. It's not quite as easy to regulate pesticides from a consumer level. But the good news is a strategy is working. Around the country, cities, counties, and communities have kicked out Roundup and other toxic herbicides in favor of non-toxic, cost-effective alternatives. The city of Richmond not only banned the use by the city, but actually paid for and created advertisements for TV encouraging the citizens to stop using the toxic Roundup and other herbicides. Because of current law, a city or county can't restrict the use by everyone in that city or county, just their own purchases, but they can encourage. Similarly, in Irvine, when the city stopped using it, so many other groups, homeowners associations, golf courses, schools jumped on board to also use the non-toxic, cost-effective alternatives. Now, we gathered 3 individuals who were successful in their groups, in their communities, eliminating the use of Roundup and other toxic herbicides. And we explain how they did it. So if you go to our website, one of our websites, rounduprisks.com, you can watch the 2-hour webinar, you can download the toolkit, and have all the information there that you need to immediately approach your city council, county council, school, homeowners association, golf courses, etc. And so even though we can't affect national strategy or national policy at this moment, and it looks like we don't have the people in place at the EPA to do that, we can certainly curtail the use dramatically in localities. And by eliminating the use of GMOs through educating people about the health dangers, we eliminate the consumption of Roundup-laden GMOs like Roundup-ready soy, corn, cotton, canola, sugar beets, and alfalfa. And just as a point, Roundup is sprayed on non-GMO crops like wheat, barley, rye, potatoes, sweet potatoes, sunflower, sugarcane, etc. So I have to add this, please, eat organic as much as possible. And when you do, take notes and see how your life changes. It'll help you stay organic. In fact, I'm working on a movie with Amy Hart called Secret Ingredients. If you go to secretingredientsmovie.com, you could watch the trailer. It will be out this year, about families who heal from dramatic health problems when they switch to an all-organic meal. I'll talk more about that in a future audio download, and also we'll be announcing the introduction of the film later this year. So there you have it. The current Trump administration is now set to continue the pro-GMO policies of previous administrations and possibly make them worse. And we are continuing to win the battle. If anyone asks, how's the GMO battle going? We are totally winning. 57% of Americans say GMOs are unsafe and they're concerned about it. So we are winning, and winning in the marketplace. And now we are winning more and more in local areas to stop the use of Roundup and other toxic pesticides. So please look at our website, responsibletechnology.org, and the other areas that we mentioned, the petition, the secret ingredients, movie.com, and rounduprisks.com. And please, safe eating.